Good Sunday morning and welcome to Props and Locks. I'm Caitlin Sharkey. Only a few weeks of the regular season remain in the NFL, and we are here to break down Week 15 odds, bets, and props, courtesy of Bet Rivers Sportsbook. Joining me every Sunday morning, VSiN expert Danny Burke. And Danny, we begin this morning with a matchup of teams who week to week continue to frustrate us when it comes to betting. The 6-7 Bears taking on the 6-7 Vikings. Playoff implications on the line. And the line in this one moving a bit right now. Minnesota laying 3, team total at 46.5. Chicago 1-4 against the spread in its last 5 games. Danny, I am fading both of these teams this week. I want nothing to do with either one of them. What are you thinking?
Caitlin, that's the best bet of the day, is just to avoid this spot. Like you said, both of these teams have been infuriating if you're backing either of them on a consistent basis. But look, this could be a decent spot, in my opinion, to back the Vikings. Now, they opened up as a 3.5-point favorite. Most of the week, you've seen them laying 3, which is currently where we see them laying it at Bet Rivers. But it quietly dipped down to 2.5 for just a moment today and a little bit yesterday, and then it went right back up to 3. But look, if I'm doing anything with the spread here, I would lay it with Minnesota. There's been this false bravado of confidence with the Bears as of late, but look at the defenses they've gone against. It's been Green Bay, it's been the Texans, it's been the Lions. All 3 of those are bottom-tier defenses that rank 20th or less in DVOA defense and allow at least 25 or more points per game. So I don't understand these Bears fans being so excited about Mitch Trubisky in this offense right now. You know how they do against the better defense. Don't fall for the trap. Minnesota, in my opinion, still has the realistic expectations, more so than the Bears, to make the postseason. I know they still have the same record, but still, let's be honest. The Vikings are just playing down to their competition, which is why this game may be more interesting than it should. But the ceiling is so much higher for this Minnesota team, especially with the offense, which they'll dominate on the ground game. The Bears' defense, a bend-don't-break mentality, but at some point, Dalvin Cook is going to break them, and so is that play action. So if I'm playing anything here with the spread and the total, I lean more toward the spread, and I would lay the 3 with Minnesota.
And Bears missing some pieces of their secondary in Deion Bush, Jalen Johnson, and Buster Screen, which leads me to lean to that over. The over has hit in 7 of Minnesota's last 8 games. Let's talk about a prop in this NFC North battle, Danny. Mitchell Trubisky over 21.5 pass completions. We saw last week's Montgomery prop hit in the first run of the game. I like the over with this one against that Vikings defense, Danny.
Yeah, that was a nice little sweat-free bet with Montgomery. First play of the game, that's exactly how we draw it up. But I don't think it's going to be as much of a sweat-free bet with this Trubisky one. I'm sure we'll have to wait till the very end of the game. But I do like the over 21.5 pass completions as well. He's averaging 23 pass completions per game. And if you look at the 5 games that he's fully played and started, he's gone over this mark in 3 out of 5 of those spots. Plus, the last 3 games being against the Packers, the Lions, the Texans, he's gone over this mark. So then you look at the Vikings defense. How do they do against opposing quarterbacks? They've allowed opposing quarterbacks over this mark in 7 out of 13 games, and they allow, on average, opposing quarterbacks 23 pass completions per game. So with my philosophy also that I think the Bears are going to be trailing, they're going to be forced to pass the ball. I know the run game was great last week against the Texans. It's a little bit better defense you're going up against this week. So I think the Bears are going to be forced to throw it to try to keep up. And I think Trubisky goes over 21.5 pass completions.
And is it easier to hit the over and think about the over with these prop bets when you're talking about playing inside a U.S. Bank Stadium?
Yeah, that's definitely a big factor, too, that you have to consider. I mean, this year especially, we've seen it in Cleveland multiple times where a game is just so windy, and you have to, remember, you have to handicap for the weather, too, but being inside tremendously helps going with the over there because you don't have to worry about any kind of crazy weather conditions, so definitely a big factor.
All right, next up, the Detroit Lions taking on the Tennessee Titans. Matthew Stafford planning to play with torn rib cartilage and a thumb injury. Titans 9-point favorites in this one, total at 53. I like the Titans to win, but do we have faith in that 9-point spread, Danny?
9 is a little bit steep, and this Detroit Lions defense, like we were just alluding to, is very, very bad. And they're banged up, too. I mean, like you mentioned, Stafford's going to be playing, but it doesn't sound like he's anywhere near 100% just based on reading everything that you see about his status. But nevertheless, he's going to be playing, and Kenny Galladay's still out, so they've been accustomed to that by now. But this Titans team is just so dominant as of this point. I think 9's a little bit too steep, so that's why I think this is a good spot to play a teaser here. Now, we talk about viable teaser options, home favorites of over 7 points. The Titans fall in that category. Now you would have to do a 6.5-point teaser as opposed to a 6-point teaser because you have to bring it down from 9 under the key number of 7, under the key number of 3. Get it to 2.5 where Tennessee just has to win by a field goal. I think that's the best option for this spot. And then, of course, you pair it with another team on the slate. So look for the Titans to tease them down 6.5 points against Detroit.
All right, moving on to the Chiefs and Saints. Drew Brees is healthy once again and starting for New Orleans. Kansas City laying 2.5, total at 52.5. I like the over in this one. I could see this turning into a shootout of sorts. Danny, what's your lean?
So now that this number's at 2.5, I actually wouldn't mind going with Kansas City. They haven't covered in quite some time, but it's hard to bet against the best quarterback in the National Football League in Patrick Mahomes. But the Saints defense is really stout, so I think they do keep it close. But I'm kind of staying away from the spread here. I'm looking at a prop. How about Alvin Kamara over 56.5 rushing yards? Now, he's averaging just 56 per game and has gone under this in a majority of the games, being 7 out of 13. But the Kansas City run defense has really been struggling. They rank 30th in DVOA run defense. They allow 128 rushing yards per game. And now that Drew Brees is back in the mix, when he was in, Alvin Kamara got more action. He averaged about 60 rushing yards per game, and you're going to want to keep the ball out of the best player in the NFL. You're going to want to keep the ball out of his hands, so they have to implement that run game, keep the pace slow, get that run game going, take advantage of it where they're liable. So I like Alvin Kamara over 56.5 rushing yards.
All right, sounds good. Still more to come on this Week 15 edition of Props and Locks. More of Burke's best bets as we continue with a look around the league. And a reminder, you can always place your bets at BetRivers.com or using the BetRivers mobile app. We're back after this. Welcome back to Props and Locks. I'm Caitlin Sharkey, joined by VSiN expert Danny Burke. Danny, let's keep rolling with our slate of games today. We have the 6-7 Patriots visiting the 8-5 Miami Dolphins. Miami comes into this one, Danny, appearing to be the better team, however, only favored by 1.5. A lower point total here at 41.5. I know the Patriots beat the Dolphins back in week 1, but a lot has changed. I'm going 2 on the Dolphins.
I'm with you here, Caitlin, and this is the sharpest play of the week, though, because this one opened up with Miami as a 3-point favorite. Like you mentioned, now they're just laying 1.5 points, so all the sharps are hammering New England here. So proceed with caution because you and I are going against it here. So I like Miami, though, too. They need to keep their playoff hopes alive, especially with the Bills cruising in the division. And really what it just comes down to is this team has just been overall better, way more consistent, especially on the defensive side of things, where they rank 11th in DVOA defense. The Patriots rank 21st. Plus, the Dolphins have a plus 85-point differential. The Patriots have a -2. I think Flores has the advantage over Belichick in the second go-around. I like division teams going up against each other and splitting, especially when the playoffs are on the line. I like the Dolphins on the money line in this spot, Caitlin.
All right, next up, Tampa Bay visiting the Atlanta Falcons. No surprises here. The Bucs are favored by 7. Atlanta has lost back-to-back games. They'll be without Julio Jones this week. Easy to lean Tampa Bay here, Danny. I like the total under 49, though, in this one. Your thoughts?
Yeah, honestly, I've just been so back and forth on this game. I really didn't want anything to do with the spread or the total. You could look at teasing down the Bucs, but you typically don't want to do that with the road favorite. I think an interesting angle is the first half team total points for the Falcons. This is a team that's averaging 14.5 first half points per game. Their total set at 9.5 right now. And the Bucs allow opponents 14.5 first half points per game and have allowed opponents over 9.5 first half total points in 11 out of 13 games. So I think that's a good angle that you could cash in on. Falcons first half team total over 9.5.
All right, this one another tricky one in my mind. Jalen Hurts will make his second start for the Eagles when they visit the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona favored by 6, is 4th in total offense. Eagles trying to work back in the NFC East picture. Total here 49.5. Cardinals have the second lowest over percentage in the league, Danny, at 30%. I know you like Kyler and the Cardinals. What is your lean for this one, though?
Yeah, and it's interesting you point that out because the angle I'm looking at is actually to go over the total here, 49.5. It's creeped up a little bit, so I'm not too enamored by where the number's at now. It would still have a slight lean to the over. The Cardinals putting up about 27.5 points per game. The Eagles consistently haven't, but now that you have Jalen Hurts in the mix, 2 mobile quarterbacks, I think the ball's going to be moving consistently. I think points are going to be coming in bunches. I like the game to go over the total in this spot.
All right, we wrap things up here with the Seattle Seahawks and the Washington football team. Washington comes in riding a 4-game win streak, surprisingly. They sit atop the NFC East. Dwayne Haskins, though, starting at quarterback after Alex Smith left last week's game with a calf injury. Seattle laying 6.5. Although Washington's run as of late is impressive, Danny, I'm still all in on Seattle here.
Yeah, I'm laying it because it's under the key number of 7. So that's the bet I would make in this game, trusting that Seattle offense to somehow eventually prosper over this great Washington defense. But with that also being said, I think the under could be a play here. And I know a lot of people might be bearish on it because it's a lower total, which is a little scary. But a great defense against a great offense, that offense is going to be slowed down at some points. And that Washington offense, missing Smith, missing Gibson, that's going to be a tough one to put up points as well, despite how bad the Seahawks defense has been. So a slight lean to the under, but more importantly, laying the 6.5 with Seattle.
All right, and finally, Danny, let's look back at your Week 15 bets recap. And is there a Raheem Mostert prop you're looking at?
Yes, there is. Raheem Mostert also over 56.5 rushing yards. He's gone over this mark in 4 out of 7 games. The Cowboys' run defense is terrible. They allow about 163 rushing yards per game. 49ers don't trust Mullins. Get the ground game going, so I like his rushing props over, Kamara's over, and Dolphins money line.
Hammering the over. I like it from start to finish. Well, thank you, Danny, and thank you for joining us on Props and Locks, brought to you by Bet River Sportsbook, Chicago's hometown sportsbook. Join us every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. and make sure you place those bets at betrivers.com. Fox Kickoff Sunday is next.